All right, so this week in college football, of course, some undefeated teams went down like Georgia Tech, Illinois, and Michigan. Michigan losing to Sparty, Illinois losing to Ohio State, who shockingly beat Illinois. I thought they were just going to get slaughtered because they've been getting slaughtered this year. And I don't know who Georgia Tech lost to. Don't really care. Georgia Tech sucks. Anyways, uh, this week's rankings came out already on ESPN. That's where I get all my credit from. Uh, and of course, the top five go LSU, Bama, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Boise, uh, running out the top five. Now, there's 8 undefeated teams in the country. That's LSU, Bama, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Boise, Okie State, Stanford, Clemson, KSU, Kansas State University, in Houston. So check that, 9 undefeated teams. My bad. Now, LSU goes in, plays Auburn, War Eagle, LSU, number one ranked team in the defense. They have that young gun, stud, fast defense. Don't expect them to lose against Auburn. They don't have Cam Newton. They don't have the firepower. Bama, Trent Richardson is going to be on fire this week. He runs up against Tennessee. That's not going to be that much of a difference. Oklahoma, they play Texas Tech. No one really cares about that game. Texas Tech has no defense. They can't defend the pass. They can't even defend the run, which Texas can defend the run, and Texas Tech can't. Imagine how that Oklahoma running back is going to do in that backfield. He's going to do a lot of things. Wisconsin plays Sparty, which I'll get to that game later. I have the stats here again from ESPN. Um, Boise plays Air Force. Not that much of a challenge. It's Air Force. I'm a huge uh, Marine and Army type guy, so of course I'm gonna put Boise State up against Air Force. Plus, Boise State has Kellen Moore, Heisman hopeful. He'll do a lot of things. Okie State plays Mizzou. Okie State had a tough time handling Texas this week. They only won 38-26. I have a feeling if David Ashwin fumbled that ball in the fourth quarter with about 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes left in the game, Texas would have had to push to maybe win that game, tie it up at least. So the Oklahoma State Mizzou game might be a game to watch this week. Who knows? It's just gonna be depending. Stanford plays Washington. Washington might have a shot at winning this game, but I truly don't see them as winning this game. It's Stanford. Andrew Luck. He loves tight ends, as Washington State found out this week. He's the front runner for the Heisman in my eyes right now. Trent Richardson's not holding up. He's doing great, but I don't think he's got enough to win the Heisman. Andrew Luck's that star. Everyone knows that he's going to get paid for uh, going pro next year. Opted out not to go this year, which is pretty shocking. So I see Stanford easily handing Washington. Clemson plays North Carolina now. This game might be a little bit more close than what some people think, especially the experts. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just a kid who's a junior in high school. So I'm just giving you guys all my opinions. I'm sure you guys are all going to bash me. I don't really care. But Clemson plays North Carolina. Clemson's for real this year. I mean, Taj Boyd, he's the whole package. He can run, he can pass. They got an outstanding defense. I mean, they came in, they beat Miami. I mean, to beat Miami is pretty big in the ACC. Kansas State plays Kansas. Kansas has to try and not look over Kansas State. Kansas State is a very high ranked team, top 25. That doesn't mean that Kansas won't overlook them because they play Texas 2 weeks from now, and everyone knows that's the game that Kansas wants to get to is the Texas game because Kansas hasn't beat Texas in over 5 years. That's one of the very few. That's one of the 5 games Texas won last year. Everyone dogs them for being the underdogs in Kansas because of Kansas State. Kansas State. Kansas State. I see Kansas winning. Then the last undefeated team in the top 25 is Houston. Houston, who is a pass-first offense. Everybody knows that. Their quarterback throws up at least 50 times a game. He's like a pitcher in the baseball leagues. He throws the ball constantly all the time. So, I mean, Rice, if they can get prevent defense, that's all you really need. Prevent the deep. So go cover 4 deep. Send linebackers in short. Have defensive ends maybe split out to that flat route, and then you got your hook curls by your 3 linebackers and just rush 2 guys. I mean, that's what I'd do if I was a coach. But Simply, a lot of these undefeated teams are going to stay undefeated. Like I said, Auburn, LSU, Oklahoma. I mean, LSU's going to beat Auburn. Sorry, LSU, Bama, Oklahoma, Boise, Okie State, Stanford, Clemson, KSU, and Houston. They're all going to stay undefeated in my eyes. If one of these teams fall, it's going to be very shocking. Now to Wisconsin and Sparty, who, in my mind, it's the game of the week because you have um, Wisconsin, who has Lamonte Ball, who can run the ball. They're seventh in rushing yards, which is pretty big. I mean, out of the 108, 110, 116, something like that schools, to be seventh in the nation in rushing yards, that's huge compared to 64 for rushing, 66 for rushing from Sparty. That's not going to be able to do it. Wisconsin's defense is fast, they're powerful, they love to get to the ball. As we saw in UNLV week 1 for Wisconsin, they power. Their offensive line is big, they're strong, they're fast, and they will power you over if they have the chance. They're 31st in rushing yards with their quarterback Kevin Winslow. Kevin Win, you guys know the quarterback, but I mean he can throw the ball and he can run, which another reason why they're seventh in the nation in passing and 31st in the passing yards. They're number 1 for points for, which I don't see why not. They don't have any skill out on the no skill on their schedule yet. Sparty's their first real test. Other than Nebraska, Nebraska kind of gave them a run for their money, but not really. And then their defense is pretty outstanding too. I mean, this third most points against. They have averaging 11.7 points per game for their opponents, so it's pretty even. Sparty, on the other hand, they're 46th in passing, 66th in rushing, 65th in points for, and 4th in points against. This should be a defensive battle, but it won't be. I see Wisconsin winning by at least 3 touchdowns, maybe. I mean, you give the ball to running back and he's gone. I mean, he lowers his shoulder and runs people over. So this week in college football definitely won't be any shocker. I don't see it being the biggest games of the state, of the country. I mean, everyone wants to get forward to that October 29th showdown with Bama and LSU. That's going to be the top 2 teams in the country in my mind, playing each other out. Trent Richardson against that defense. It's going to be pretty hardcore. Everyone's just going to be battling it out. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, the December 3rd. I know that's a long ways down the road, but it's a possible game to knock Okie State out of the Big 12 game, and Oklahoma, that might knock them out. To where if Texas, you know, Texas wins out the rest of their schedule, which is very possible. I mean, the biggest competition I see right now is either Baylor with Robert Griffin III or that TAMU, but TAMU's lost 2 games that they should have won by 20 points or more. And so it'll be interesting to see if TAMU can win. I mean, they're behind Virginia Tech right now and behind Sparty. And Michigan, who has Denard Robinson, Shoelace, they lost this week against Michigan State, but I see them bouncing back next week. It's going to be an easy week for them, possibly. Other than that, Oregon winning, everyone knows the whole entire "how will you shut up" thing Chip Kelly did after the game. Don't know if that was just a sign of, oh my god, we just lost our star quarterback, or oh my god, we lost a short quarterback. Now we don't even have a running back, but I mean, they have DeAnthony Thomas to back him up, and they have Kenyon Barner. Kenyon Barner had a career night last night, and DeAnthony Thomas is a young, fast freshman who I see having a bright future 2 years down the road in the Ducks organization. Uh, and Bennett, dear Lord, where did this kid come from? He's 6'4", 6'5", I think, and he's a redshirt freshman, put on 20 pounds in the offseason, comes out, runs this ASU team to oblivion. I mean, Oregon was down 3 points at half when he came in, and he all of a sudden takes Oregon, puts them on his back, and say, "Let's go. I'm gonna take you guys to this win." That's pretty impressive to do. Like Chip Kelly said, he had no game experience except for a couple of blowouts. That's huge for a freshman to step in, fill those shoes, and do what he did. Auburn, I see falling out, of course, to that loss to LSU. I mean, other than that, all these teams in the top 25 are pretty legit. Uh, Illinois, of course, they started off huge, 6-0, 5-0, 5-0, 6-0, something like that. Lost this week to Ohio State. Ohio State's not going to make any dent in anybody's schedule. It's Ohio State. They lost their uh, quarterback to the pros. They lost their head coach. Their program's going down the drain because of all these allegations of money, selling things. I see them doing nothing the next 3-4 years. Georgia, of course, Georgia has that huge running back, and as like a Crow, something like that, who was the number one recruit last ESPNU's recruit last year. He's a freshman. He can run the ball. He's pretty big. You can go on ESPNU, go to their recruiting page, look up last year's film. You'll see Isaiah Crow, and this kid can run the ball. I mean, he'll lay somebody out just to get the first down. That brings me to my next thing: Georgia, South Carolina. South Carolina, you lost Marcus Lattimore. What are you going to do this week? I mean, it's going to be pretty big. I mean, if Marcus Lattimore tore that MCL or tore anything in his knee, he might be out for the season. So pretty much it's going to be wins all across the board except for maybe a couple of teams. I mean, other than that, Sparty might lose. I don't know who any of these other teams really play because I don't really care about all these teams. I just care about undefeated teams. I know Texas fans, if you're out there, hook 'em horns. Yeah, we started off the past 2 weeks pretty bad, but I got to give credit to Mac Brown and that whole entire Texas team. You get rid of their star quarterback and Garrett Gilbert, you get rid of your whole entire coaching staff with Will Muschamp. You bring in a brand new offensive coordinator from Boise State. You bring in a whole new basic coaching staff, and you're off to a 4-2 start. That's pretty good in my eyes. I'm a huge Texas fan. I'll be going there after high school. So it's pretty big to see that progress made in David Ash and Chase McCoy. Jackson Shipley, like Mac Brown said, he's going to probably be better than his brother. But I see that, and I actually see that happening. This kid's a good young receiver, and he can do a lot of things out in the open field. So I'll just see what happens 2 weeks from now. They got to bye. We'll see what happens when they play Kansas October 29th. Like I said, other than that, I mean, UW might do some things, but like they're playing Stanford, very unlikely to happen. So I mean, it's just all gonna kind of base itself out. And as you guys know, tonight it's already passed on my side of country and on my side of the world. Tonight at 5 o'clock was the BCS standings. I'm debating whether or not to have another video about the BCS standings and what I think about those. And so we'll see. We'll see who's out on top on BCS standings come tonight. But who knows? Maybe Bama jumped over LSU and Oklahoma did. So